This is Feldenkrais San Diego, and we'll be doing an awareness through movement of Feldenkrais lesson. So please begin on your back. Please get comfortable lying on your back. And spend a few moments just observing what areas make contact lying like this. You probably can sense that there are parts of your back, there are certain vertebrae, there are areas that are in contact with the floor. And you'll also notice that there are areas that are lifted, that are arched away from the floor. For example, maybe the low back or the neck area. So get a general sense of, in the beginning, how you start, how you lie here, what parts of you are touching. And please bend both knees, so both feet are standing, with both knees pointing to the ceiling. Separate the feet and the knees comfortably apart. And with the feet standing, a few times explore lifting the pelvis. So to lift the pelvis, you'll notice that it changes the vertebra that press the floor. So notice when you press the feet, the pelvis lifts a bit. And just play with that. Play with this idea of lifting the pelvis many times. And feeling that the weight shifts on the floor, that parts of your back begin to lift and other areas come more in contact with the floor. So listen to that. And again, lift the pelvis slowly. And then let it come back to the floor. So there's no reason to lift the pelvis high. It's really seeing where it lifts easily and what's comfortably. So you're really exploring, you're really playing in the area where you have comfort. So you're not stretching, you're not forcing, you're not straining. Right. Just playfully, with curiosity, lift the pelvis many times. And each time you lift the pelvis, you'll notice that the weight shifts to another part of the back. So enjoy that. Enjoy feeling that you lean weight on different parts of your back. So as the pelvis lifts, you'll notice that the weight shifts higher on the back toward the shoulders. Just see exactly where is it that the weight shifts. How does the weight shift? Right? Which vertebra get lighter, which get heavier? Really explore without the need to achieve anything. Right? Without striving for a goal. Just play in the area where it's very comfortable, where your breath is free and available. And after you've explored this a bit, rest. Take a break, pause, and do nothing. So when you rest, you can let both legs lie long if that's most comfortable for you, or keep the knees bent. Either way, notice that most likely your back touches a little differently than when we began. Probably you settle on the floor a little differently, so observe that. And also observe your breathing. Observe how you breathe. Please, once again, bend both knees, stand the feet flat on the floor. So the feet are flat on the floor, the knees are bent, and the knees point toward the ceiling. Separate the knees and feet comfortably apart, maybe hip width, shoulder width. Please interlace the fingers. So interlace the fingers and place the interlaced fingers behind the head. So that your head is resting in the interlaced hands. And the back of the head is the place that was previously touching the floor, but now that's the place that's resting in your hands. Okay, and with your interlaced hands behind your head, use the hands, use the arms to lift the head. So point the elbows toward the ceiling, bring the elbows as if to touch each other, right, as if the elbows were magnetically attracted. Bring the elbows toward each other. And then use the arms to lift the head many times. So the neck does nothing, the head does nothing, and it's the arms and the hands that lift the head. And many times play with this. You'll notice that the head doesn't lift as high as the pelvis did. You may notice that the quality's different. And explore only what's easy here. So keeping the elbows moving toward each other, so the elbows point toward the ceiling. Many times use the arms to lift the head. So you're softly allowing the head to lift and feeling that as the head lifts, parts of your back press the floor and other parts lift. You'll notice that the highest area closest to your neck begins to lift away as the weight shifts down the back. So many times explore what that's like. What it's like to lift the head, letting the neck rest, keeping the elbows moving toward each other, using the arms and the hands to lift the head. So when the head lifts, the weight leans lower in the back. So many times play with this. Explore this, and you'll notice that there's some vertebra that lift clearly and well, and you'll notice that there are other vertebra that are not participating at all, that don't move. See if you can go very slowly and really sense where there's movement, and maybe even slow the lifting down and allow more parts of the back to lift, even slightly, just a little bit. Leave that alone and take a break. Pause. Resting on your back every time we take a rest, every time we pause and stop doing a movement, it's another chance to feel differences. So right now, as you lie here, sense, how does your back lie here? Are there different points in contact with the floor? Do you sense changes and differences in how you lie here? So please rest on your back. Rest your arms at your sides, bend both knees, stand the feet so the feet are flat on the floor, separate the feet comfortably apart, and return to lifting the pelvis and observe observe the rhythm with which you lift the pelvis. So the idea is that each time you lift the pelvis, you're leaning weight further up on the back. So when the pelvis lifts, you'll notice those vertebrae get lighter, lift away, and then the vertebra immediately above the lifting vertebra get heavier. So get a sense of that. Begin to study that, right? So without effort, without force, lift the pelvis lightly and feel the weight shifting higher into the back. And the areas that lift immediately above those areas, there's a pressing, right? So feel what parts of your back press the floor as you're lifting your pelvis. Where do you lean weight on your back? Sense that. Now lift the pelvis comfortably high in the air. And with the pelvis lifted high into the air, interlace your fingers behind your head so that your head's resting in your interlaced hands. And the pelvis is high in the air. Now lift the head as well. So with your pelvis in the air, now you're lifting your head also. And you'll find that you lean weight on a particular area of your back. Part of your back gets heavy there and presses. Get a sense of where is that area that leans into the floor. So the pelvis is high in the air, and then using your interlaced fingers with the elbows toward each other, pointing to the ceiling, use the arms to lift the head as well. So the head lifts as the pelvis is lifted, and you'll notice that you lean, you press part of your back, a very small part presses the back very clearly, very heavily, and come back down. So once again, press both feet, let the pelvis lift high in the air. Now interlace the fingers, place the interlaced fingers behind the head, carry the elbows toward the ceiling, so the elbows look up, the points of the elbows are pointing toward the ceiling, right, so that your arms can really support your head. Let the arms lift the head. The pelvis is already lifted, so you're in this arc shape, right? You're in this arc shape. Keep this rounded arc shape. And slightly lift the pelvis a little more and feel as the pelvis lifts slightly more that the weight leans higher toward your shoulders. Then lift the head with the arms and feel that leans the weight a little lower in the back. Press the feet, let the pelvis lift. Feel the weight shifting toward the shoulders a little more. And then lift the head. So when you lift the head, the pelvis lowers. You don't lower the pelvis, but it lowers because the head's lifting and the weight's leaning further down on your back. And then press the feet and feel that pressing the feet lifts the pelvis. And you'll find that brings the head down a bit. You're not lowering the head. You're keeping that rounded shape, that arc shape, that kind of crescent. Your back's in a crescent moon shape. As you press the feet, that lifts the pelvis and leans the arcing back further toward the shoulders. You're still in that shape. As you lift the head, the weight leans downward a little toward your pelvis, so you're rocking across the vertebra of your back. Right? You're leaning weight in one direction and then in the other. So you're shifting the weight from, say, maybe your shoulders toward your lower ribs and coming back and forth, just leaning across different areas, pressing the floor with different parts of your back. Notice what that's like. Anytime you need a rest, just rest your back on the floor, sit everything down, take a break, and come back to that same idea, right? To come back to it, you press your feet, lift your pelvis high in the air, interlace your fingers behind your head, bring the elbows toward each other, use the arms to lift the head, and with the head lifted, with the pelvis lifted, feel what part of your back takes more weight. And then press the feet so the pelvis lifts and the weight leans a little bit higher into the back. Then lift the head and let the weight lean a little bit lower. So you're shifting the weight across the back toward the pelvis a little bit, toward the shoulders a little bit. And anytime you need a rest, you just sit the pelvis down, sit the back down, lie on your back, take a rest. And when you're ready, come back to the movement. Please rest on your back. And as you rest here on your back, it's another opportunity to sense the changes occurring. What do you sense about the areas, the parts of your back in contact with the floor? Has anything changed? Please roll to your side and bring yourself up to stand on your knees and your hands. So you're on your hands and knees. Stand on your hands and knees with your elbows completely straight, so both arms are straight. See if you can arrange yourself so your knees are under your hips and your hands are under your shoulders. So you don't want the hands too close to the knees or the knees too close to the hands, because it'll just restrict your movement. So take up your full space, be comfortably separated, the knees from the hands from the knees. The two hands, separate them so there's space between the two hands and space between the two knees. So standing like this on your hands and knees, allow the head to hang forward. So the top of the head is looking toward the floor. Don't press it, but just let it hang freely and see where does it go. So you're not holding the head up. The head's hanging toward the floor. The way your hair does, right? The way the hair falls toward the floor, allow your head to fall toward the floor. And with your head hanging, pull your belly in and let the head hang. Then protrude the belly, let the belly hang forward as you lift the head slightly. Allow the head to hang, let the head hang down as you lift the belly. And then lift the head as the belly protrudes forward. So play with this idea, explore this, that when you lift the belly and let the head hang, which of your vertebra participate, which vertebra are moving, right? So go very slowly so you really can bring your attention to the individual vertebra. Get a sense of which of the vertebrae are moving and which don't move relative to the others. So when you let the head hang, when you lift the belly, that means the back moves toward the ceiling slightly. And then allow the belly to protrude, fall toward the floor as the head lifts a bit. Listen to the vertebra in the back, in the neck. Which vertebrae are moving? If you go very gently, very slowly, see if more of the back can assist in making this shape, this rounded shape, as you pull the belly in, as you let the head fall toward the floor. See how much of the back can participate in creating this shape when you lean the belly toward the floor, when you let the belly fall to the floor and lift the head, right? So that rounded shape of the back. How much of the back participates, which vertebra are involved. Go back and forth with that, slowly, really attending, right? Really inviting each vertebra to participate. So it's not so much that it's a large movement, but it's an inclusive movement. All the parts are doing a little something. Playfully explore this. Listen to your breathing. Allow your breath to move as the vertebrae move, as the spine takes these shapes. And please take a rest from that. It's a moment you can roll onto your back or rest on your belly. And please roll onto your belly. So come onto your front side, lie with your arms long above you. And resting on your belly like this with your legs long. Please lift your head, and as you lift your head, protrude your belly forward. So allow the belly to protrude as you lift the head, and then bring the head down again. Many times, lift the head as you protrude the belly. So the belly presses powerfully into the floor as you're looking up. So look up with the eyes as you protrude the belly forward. Notice that. What parts of the belly protrude into the floor? Is it more on the right side or more on the left side? See if the entire belly can press the floor as your eyes look up toward the ceiling. Of course, resting anytime you want to pause. Just rest on your belly and then come back to it when you're ready. Pressing the belly powerfully into the floor as you look up. And please roll onto your back and take a break. And resting on your back, sense what areas make contact with the floor now. What's different in how you rest on the floor? What parts of you take the support of the floor now? Notice your breathing. Is there something about the breath and the movement of the breath that's a little bit different now? And when you're ready, roll back onto your belly. Come back onto the belly. Rest the arms on the floor above you. Rest your forehead on the floor with your legs long. And a few times take your eyes and look under your chest. So move the head so the forehead slides on the floor, and you take the head as if to move the head under your chest, as if to look between your legs so the chest lifts and the head slides under. All right, so it could be the crown of your head's on the floor or the forehead's on the floor, but slide the head along the floor and take it under the chest, the amount that's available, the amount that's easy. So you'll start to feel that the chest lifts a bit and the head slides under you. And as you do this, you'll feel a movement in the back. You'll feel a movement, sort of undulatory motion in the spine. So play with sliding the head, top of the head, the forehead along the floor, taking the head under the chest, looking under the chest, looking under between the two legs. Please roll onto your back and take a break. Lying on your back, notice how you make contact. Observe yourself here. Please bend both knees, stand both feet. And return to the original movement of lifting the pelvis. So lift the pelvis and notice, is there a significant difference in your ability? So again, without trying or efforting, just simply lift the pelvis and notice, is it lighter? Is the movement more available? Is it clearer or simpler in some way? And begin to notice how the weight transfers from one vertebra to the other. Is this improved? Is it smoother or easier or more comfortable or lighter? This is really what the Feldenkrais Method is all about. It's about learning and making learning easy and fun, kind of just learning without efforting. So just enjoy lifting the pelvis a few times, feeling how the weight leans further on the back, higher on the back as different parts of the spine lift. The weight leans higher up onto the shoulders. Leave it all alone. Take a break. And one last time, sense your contact with the floor and observe if there's some difference in the parts of your back making contact compared to when we began. Has something changed? See if you can sense exactly what has changed. Is there a difference in the parts of your back touching the floor? Maybe there's a difference in your breathing. And when you're ready, roll to your side. Please bring yourself up to sitting. And after you've spent time there, bring it all the way to standing and notice yourself in standing. Notice yourself in walking. If this is the first time you've listened to this podcast, please visit us. It's Feldenkrais SD, Feldenkrais SD.com. So it's FeldenkraisSD.com, and you can also visit us on Facebook, and it's Feldenkrais San Diego at Facebook. So we'll be doing another lesson next week, and it'll be a different one. Thank you so much.